So I've been asked a similar question a few times now by JST athletes. Should I be on JST athlete, one of the biases, or compete? So I'm going to kind of answer this question in this video. I thought a video would be better, so I can explain in a little bit more detail. So if you want to focus on your development, I would suggest sticking to JST athlete or one of the biases. So if you've been with us for the last few months or more, whichever bias you've been utilizing and following, so it could be the strength bias, could be the gymnastic bias, engine bias, stick to doing what you were doing before would be my suggestion. If you're just joining us, what I would suggest is replying to Pete and answering the questions that he's given you so that he can tell you how best or which track is best for you to follow. If you're unsure which bias or if JST athlete is best for you, again, just drop us a message. We'll ask you a few questions and we'll then guide you on which track to follow going forward. So either way, you either know, or you can either just ask us, we'll ask you a few questions and we'll tell you. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Now, if it's the case where you want to compete and focus on peaking for SID 3s, that's where I would suggest switching to compete. Now, you could be a little bit on the fence where you're kind of like, right, okay, well, what if I still want to focus on development but do well at SID 3s? So I would say, right, okay, I need you to prioritize and tell me if you were to pick, either improving your weaknesses and what you really need to, bring up to scratch, or being really competition sharp for SID 3s, which one are you going to go for? Okay, so whatever your answer is there, that's going to decide, right, okay, I'm going to focus on really my number one priority is, bringing my strength up. So you're going to stick with JST athlete. If it's the case where you want to be really competition sharp, you're going to go compete. Now, it could be the case that you take some of the workouts off compete and put them into your program that you're following on JST athlete and the biases. So as an example of this, I would suggest inputting either the strategy Wednesdays and the simulation Saturdays, taking them off compete and putting them in JST athlete. If you still want to kind of prioritize your development, but you want to be a little bit sharper for compete. Okay, so with the strategy Wednesdays and the simulation Saturdays, you're just getting a little bit more teamwork in and things in your program that are going to help you bring up to speed, bring the teamwork up to scratch. And just get you a little bit competition sharper. So it's a case where you've not gone all in to compete, but you've kind of brought things up to speed a little bit more. So you've just taken those two pieces from compete, put them into your program for JST athlete at the biases, and that's the only minor tweak that you need to make. The final thing to add to that is, if you want to peak for a competition that isn't SID 3s or isn't SID Origins in the next couple of months, but the competition is in the next couple of months, that's when I would suggest switching to an individual program if you really want to go all in and peak for a certain competition. Beyond SID Origins, we've penciled in competitions next year that we are likely going to compete for, but nothing is set in stone yet. What we use as a guide is this year's competitions, how many athletes we had there, and also we'll ask the question, which competitions are you guys planning to do next year, to maybe help guide us a little bit on what to compete for. But like I say, we've got a bit of a short list for next year already. So yeah, to kind of summarize, if you want to focus on development more and prioritize that, stick with JST athlete at the biases. If you really want to get competition sharp, switch to compete. If you want to stay relatively competition, stay in good competition shape year round, would probably just stick to compete. But remember, that's not going to kind of bring areas that you need up to scratch as well or as quick. And then if you've got a competition that you want to peak for that maybe compete isn't peaking for, then switch to bespoke would be my suggestion. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions on this, feel free to drop me a message and I will be happy to answer them.